Welcome to the first video of the Youth Confirmation Instruction here at Grace Lutheran Church in Mastic Beach. The goal of this class is for you and your parents to get a better understanding of the sacrament of the altar, also known as Holy Communion or the Lord's Supper. When you are finished with doing all of these videos and the 5 lessons, you will call the office, you'll make an appointment to meet with me, and we'll talk about what you've learned about Holy Communion. And if you and your parents feel you are ready, you will set a date to have your first communion. There's a lot of learning that has to happen between now and then, and hopefully a lot of fun as you and your parents work on these lessons together. In this first lesson, you will need to have your video note sheet out so you can take some notes as I talk about the first things we're going to learn about Holy Communion. Communion is a sacrament. A sacrament has several parts in the Lutheran Church. The Lutheran Church says that a sacrament has to be instituted by Jesus. That means started by Jesus. Something he did that we can read about in the New Testament while he was alive. It must have a physical element. In communion, the physical elements of the sacrament are bread and wine. In the sacrament of baptism, the physical element is water. And then the sacrament must have the promise of forgiveness. In Holy Communion, Jesus says, "My body and blood are given and shed for you for the forgiveness of sins." So there is the physical element, body and blood, in, with, and under bread and wine. The promise of forgiveness, and Jesus started it when he did it the first time with his disciples. In the Lutheran Church, there are 2 sacraments. The sacrament of baptism, which probably happened for you when you were younger, and now you're experiencing the sacrament of Holy Communion. Communion is seen differently in different churches. The Roman Catholic Church sees that communion, when the body and blood of Jesus Christ are instituted by the pastor or the priest, that they somehow transubstantiate and actually become physical body and blood, flesh and blood. It's called transubstantiation. The bread and wine are no longer part of the sacrament, but now it's only Jesus' body and blood. So if you drop the wafer in the Roman Catholic Church, you're actually dropping Jesus' body. Or if you spill some of the wine, you're actually spilling Jesus' blood. In other churches, like in the Baptist Church or the Christian Reformed Church, they believe that the bread and wine only symbolize Jesus' body and blood or represent his body and blood. It's representation. It doesn't become body and blood. It always just stays bread and wine. In the Lutheran Church, we believe in the real presence. The real presence says that in the bread and wine, there is also Jesus' body and blood. When Jesus said, "This is my body," he was holding up a piece of bread, but he said to his disciples, "This is my body." So somehow, in, with, and under that bread, there was Jesus' body. The same with the wine. "This cup," he says, "is the New Testament of my blood." So somehow with that wine, in, with, and under that wine, there's also Jesus' blood. It's called real presence. So in the Lutheran Church, when you take communion, you are actually receiving in, with, and under the bread and wine, Jesus' body and blood. The power of the sacrament of the altar, or Holy Communion, is really in 2 parts. One, Jesus' action of dying on the cross, which we remember with the words, "given and shed for you." He gave his body and blood up on the cross for you. And why? For the forgiveness of sins. So the power isn't in our eating and drinking. It's not in the words that a pastor speaks. It's in the promise of Jesus, forgiveness of sins, and in the power of Jesus' actions, his death on the cross. That's enough for this first lesson. When this video ends, make sure that you get all your notes on the video sheet, and then go on and enjoy the family activity together. When you're finished with all of lesson 1, then you can begin to work on lesson 2. I'll see you later. Have a great day.